You're watching NBS Face Off. I am Oscar Semuya this evening with Mr. Yusuf Serunkuma. Let's go directly to politics now. 2021. Needless to say, you are firmly in the opposition side. Oh yes.
No, I'm a
opposition
scholar.
side. Whichever way you're schooling it, you're on the opposition side of Uganda's politics. But I don't know, even approaching 2021, NRM is looking very strong.
Yeah, it is. Very strong.
Yes.
And as long as we're going to go through an election, NRM is winning. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And many of your writings have suggested personally that we should give up.
I didn't say that.
Suggested.
My argument is I think we need to change strategy. Not we, political players need to change strategy. If you're going to an election, you know, it's unthinkable if a man who braved the embarrassment of having SFC enter parliament to change the constitution, a man who had paid so expensively, paying both opposition and the NRM to change the constitution, and then you think this man is going to sit back and say you win an election? No.
So you give up?
You're out of your mind. You wouldn't give up. You need to think about other strategies. I've argued before.
Here's what you've written as a strategy. You've recommended that opposition politicians should not even bother organizing themselves, because if they organize themselves, they leave themselves open to attack from people in power. So, but that couldn't work. That wouldn't work.
You need to understand the context. This is the context that if you go to an election, the result is predetermined. That's a given. You may disagree, and I think the president of this country has mastered the art of winning. All right, he's mastered the art of winning. That you do so many things. If you can't intimidate them, you can buy them. If you can't buy them, you have to coerce the electoral commission to give you victory. All right. I've argued that if you look at the continent, we are not exceptional. We will have to go the way of Zimbabwe. Mugabe had mastered the art of winning. Come any single election, however exciting and what big the crowd the opposition would pull, he would still win. Hosni Mubarak had mastered the art of winning. He would win an election, come what, rain or shine. Kabila would win an election. We are not exceptional.
Yeah.
How did those men
But
live
in recent times, we've had opposition leaders winning surprise elections. You take
winning by elections.
No, winning elections. General Buhari in Nigeria won a surprising election. It was his fourth time to contest.
Look,
in
Nigeria thrives on
neighboring country, Ghana, they've had the same repeatedly now. I think twice the opposition has won. Some other countries, the trend has changed.
No, I disagree. Disagree, and I want to give you examples of the opposite of what you've just said. But also we need to be aware that Ghana and Nigeria have a different context. They have a different history. So you're going to give me the example of Tanzania, because they have been changing leaders. That's a different context too. If you're going to give me
the Tanzanian context,
if you're going to give me the Kenyan example,
last election,
the Kenyan example,
Tanzanian
they had to go through a moment of violence. So that they can realize that we actually have to start a culture of changing politics. Nobody wants to go back to that moment of violence.
That's not true, Yusuf, because Kenya violence was the last time, 2007, was not the first time they've had electoral violence. But even when they had a strong arm leader, a very strong leader, they did have violence.
But you need to appreciate that the moments of violence may not happen once or twice. They will have to, but you have to go through a period. And I've argued that the best way, those other countries have been able to change elections, they've been unorganized, not disorganized, but they work not in the structure that the government knows how to deal with. They don't go to courts of law. Because I mean, you know, you've had NRM surrogates in this country say go to courts of law. And there, the victory is predetermined too. The verdicts are predetermined.
Most of them lose.
Yeah, I mean,
the majority of court cases are won by opposition leaders.
If it doesn't involve the president directly, if it involves the seat of the president, I can guarantee it's going to be lost by whoever is going to go against it. It's going to be lost. But this is the argument I wanted to put forth, that if you look at our history as a continent and the ways in which we're dealing with leaders who have overstayed, who have mastered, who have an autocracy of experts, I've argued these autocrats are experts. They're not as crude as Idi Amin or Bokassa, all those. These are experts. They use the tools of a democratic dispensation to perpetrate their reign. They organize elections. The judiciary is functional.
Excuse me.
They go to parliament and actually have debates. These autocrats are not the usual autocrats. They are more sophisticated. The best way you can put them down is you have to devise their means. You have to step out of their game. You have to step out of the expertise. The expertise is organized political parties, have structures, have parliamentary representation. You know the way we do it in the countryside. If you want to put out a fire, you light another fire on this side. President Museveni is extremely unorganized. If he were organized, he wouldn't be the candidate for the president anymore.
Well, he's probably somewhere watching this and having a smile and saying Yusuf has gotten it wrong again. Finally, as we conclude this interview, the entry of Bobi Wine into elective politics and 2021 approaching, will he make a difference? Already, he's put out his strategy, put out his officers, and according to your line of thinking, he's made a mistake.
Well, I've been revising the mistake that he made. First, he was without choice. His entry into politics was like redemptive in the sense that he does a thing that is very unorganized. He's doing music. He's singing his politics. The first time in this country you have a mainstream politician who is singing his music. That's unusual. And as you've seen, the government gambled a lot in their response. They didn't know how to deal with it. So they end up breaking so many laws to respond. Even now, like stopping him from singing is breaking the law. So the only way they can deal with as singing politicians is by breaking the law. The best way they deal with suited, uptight politicians, you follow the law. You go to the constitution, you go to the courts, and you defeat them. You go through an election, you defeat them. So he was singing his politics, and that was really difficult for the government to deal with. Now he's becoming mainstream. You now see him clad in a suit, attending high-end meetings in hotels. He's becoming manageable. When he forms a political party, he's manageable. President Museveni has mastered the ways of dealing with organized political parties. That, I think, is a mistake. But it's not a mistake on the other hand, because how else would he survive without becoming mainstream? Like declaring that he's going to run for president is two ways. I don't think Bob Wine thinks he can win an election against Mr. Museveni. I don't think he does. But it's good in the sense that it keeps him active. It raises the stakes of taking him out. If you're going to arrest him, you're not arresting a common MP or a singer. You're arresting a presidential candidate. So I think there he raised the stakes for him. And I think the best contribution he could do to this country is keep dressed in his jeans and T-shirts and Timberlands and continue singing and organizing protests. Because the unorganized structure is so powerful. The only time Museveni felt threatened was when the riots against the Kayinga riots happened in this country. That was the only time the seat of the president was threatened. I remember Babazi on the streets of Kampala campaigning. That's easy to deal with. Kizza Besigye organizing crowds, following him, organizing the election, ahead of the election. That's easy to deal with. This is a singing politician, very unorganized, in jeans and Timberlands and T-shirts. That was a lot of work for the president. Now Bobi has become mainstream. And I think that's very worrying for me.
On that note, soon to be Dr. Yusuf Serunkuma Kajura, thank you so much for appearing on NBS Face Off.
And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.